Okay, so it's time for us to dive back into our coverage over Absolute Superman. I kind of feel like I'm slacking in the coverage over the Absolute Universe, and I was like one of the people who was really hyped for the idea of this alternate universe for DC Comics. Now, we have been covering Absolute Wonder Woman, but like we gotta cover Absolute Batman and also Absolute Superman. But today's video, we're going to cover Absolute Superman issue number 2 and also issue number 3 as well. Now, I have to say, I am loving what Jason Aaron is doing on Absolute Superman. And here's the reason why, because as we get into the opening page of this book, we get a chance to see Kal-El living a life on Krypton. And for me, that's kind of cool. I know you're saying like, come on, Fresh, really? We understand. Most of the time when it comes to a Kal-El in DC's multiverse, they get sent away right after they are born. And sometimes they might get a few months in or a couple of years, but that's really it. But this Kal-El had a good amount of time on Krypton. And so we kind of see him 6 years ago kind of getting a lecture from his teacher because of his report. You see, for Kryptonians, they're supposed to write up their papers coming from one source of material that was created by the science community. But for Kal-El, he didn't do that. He basically wrote everything on his own. And so for his teacher, that is not okay. But it kind of shows that Kal-El is very smart, but also he's very different. He's not trying to be your usual Kryptonian. But now we are able to jump back over to the present day. Now, when we do, it's really more of Kal-El kind of still being surrounded by the Lazarus Corp as we saw at the end of our last video. But also, he was getting arrested by Lois Lane, who is an agent for the Lazarus Corp. But on top of that, she put the cuffs on herself, but also Kal-El. So unfortunately, they have been cuffed together. Now you do have Kal-El ask his AI soul to find a way to get rid of the cuffs. Now here's the thing. We also learned that Kal-El is able to use sun dust as a construct as a way to be used for different types of needs. And so we're seeing being able to use the sun dust as a way to protect Lois Lane, because right now the Lazarus Corp, they're trying to bring down Kal-El, and they don't really care if Lois Lane is in the way. And so for Kal-El, he's able to fly away, but he has to bring Lois Lane with him. Now, once you have the two being able to get away, this is the moment where you have Lois Lane begin to learn a little bit more about Kal-El, but the same thing goes for him as well. Now, for Kal-El, he's telling Lois, like, you don't understand. The company that you work for, they look at workers as livestock. They don't care about human rights at all. And matter of fact, we saw that in our last video for Absolute Superman. But either way, it's him also calling Lois Lane arrogant as well. But he also says one key fact that she takes in very easily. He says that is wrong with your planet. And that tells her right off the bat that Kal-El is not from Earth, that Kal-El is an alien. But while you have the two continue on with their conversation, you have Kal-El once again be attacked by the Lazarus Corporation. Now, Kal-El is able to take him down very easily, but there were some innocent people who were caught in the crossfire. And so you have Clark going out of his way, sorry, Kal-El, not Clark, going out of his way to help out the people in this area. Now, for Lois Lane, this begins the moment where she begins to learn that Kal-El is a great person, an innocent man, but at the same time she realized that he's still trying to figure out what is his powers when it comes to being under the yellow sun. But either way, it's her saying like she had the opportunity to take out Kal-El, but she realized that he's an innocent person. He's a great guy. He's going out of his way to help out innocent people who are unfortunately caught in the crossfire between Kal-El and the Lazarus Corp. Now, once you have the AI soul being able to find a way to get rid of the cuffs, you didn't have Kal-El leave. Now, for Lois, she wanted him to stay so that they are able to talk more to one another. But for Kal-El, he's all like, nope, gotta go, bye, see you next time. But it does show that he does somewhat trust her now. But after all of that, you did have Lois Lane go back to the base of the Lazarus Corporation. Now, once she does get back to the base, it's now really her trying to give her report of everything that happened to her while being with Kal-El, how she feels about Kal-El. Now, she's trying to use some kind of automatic system to kind of fill in her report for her without having to type it up, the Brainiac system. But we kind of find out this system is being controlled by somebody who's currently sitting in the shadows. Now, this could be this reality's version of Brainiac. We don't know yet. But either way, every single time she tries her best to speak positive about Kal-El, the system says, you know what? I agree. We should go ahead and kill him off. I agree. He is a dangerous being that needs to be killed off. And it's her saying, I didn't say that. But the system is trying to change her story. And so now it's her saying, you know what? Let me go ahead and write up my story instead of trying to use this system to speak my mind. But now we get another flashback. Now, with this flashback, it's really more of the book trying to show us a little bit more of Kal-El's life on Krypton, but also kind of focusing on his parents. Because for Lara-El, she was an engineer on Krypton. She was able to create all these amazing things. So we're now finding out that in the past, before Krypton had blew up, she was trying to create a spaceship that could help save her life and her family lives as well to get off Krypton, while you have Jor-El trying his best to prove that Krypton is dying, to show the higher-ups that we need to evacuate the entire planet. Now for Lara-El, she already knows the higher-ups are not going to listen to Jor-El at all, but either way, he needs to steal a bunch of sun dust so they can use that as a way to get off the planet. Now, for Jason Aaron, when it comes to issue number 3, it's really more him trying to flesh out the origin of Kal-El on Krypton. And so in the opening pages of this issue, we now jump back in the past and we pick up with the El family going on a camping trip. But here's the thing. While out on their camping trip, you have Jor-El inform Kal-El the school had called them up. Because apparently Kal-El is not trying to be like your typical Kryptonian. And let me explain. When you're in school and you're writing reports on Krypton, you're supposed to use a source of information like everyone else does when it comes to your reports. But for Kal-El, he's not doing that. He's all like, listen, I know what I know and I know what I believe in. And so I'm going to use my own words when it comes to writing up my papers. But again, he is breaking 3,000-year rules. Now, for Jor-El, you would think like, okay, you know what? He'll be upset with his son. But he's not. He's all like, hey, son, keep doing what you're doing. We're proud of you. Now, they're trying to continue on with their camping trip. You have Jor-El hear something going on when it comes to Krypton. And we kind of find out that he's realizing the planet is dying at a faster rate. And so, unfortunately for Jor-El, this camping trip has now turned into, well, a working trip, where you now have Jor-El collecting samples of this area of Krypton to kind of figure out if his theory is correct, that Krypton is now dying at a faster rate. But after all of that, you did have everyone go back home. Now, you have Kal-El tell us that ever since their camping trip had ended, you did have the two parents begin to work on the different projects to begin the process of trying to get off of Krypton. So again, you had Lara trying to finish her rocket ship, and you had Jor-El trying to finish his theory to show to the science people like, hey, listen, Krypton is dying and we have to leave. Now, Kal-El walked by and saw all of this happening in their workshop. But then he heard Krypto begin to bark at him, kind of warn him about something happening. Kal-El followed Krypto. Now, when he does, you have Kal-El finding some of these dead animals just laying around. They're half decayed, but are being killed off by some kind of green gas. And really, you have Kal-El get on his bike and he finds even more dead animals just laying out there, half decayed, being killed off by some kind of green gas once again. And it's not just dead animals happening all over the world, it's also lakes now turning poisonous. You now have earthquakes happening all over the planet. But here's the thing, you didn't have these news reports come out saying people do not panic. What's happening right now is completely natural, even though it is not natural at all. Now for Kal-El, he tries his best to write a report and put it on a school website to inform people what he believes was really happening. The problem is that as soon as he goes to post on the school page, it gets taken down in a matter of seconds. And the reason why, because they're trying to make sure the public does not find out what's really happening with Krypton. The whole idea, the planet is dying. But while you have Kal-El at school, he then sees his father being carried away by a bunch of guards. And the reason why, because he tried to show the science people his theory of what's happening to Krypton. But unfortunately, they didn't want to hear him. And matter of fact, they're going to lock him up for being someone trying to spread false news or trying to cause panic on Krypton. And so for Kal-El, he runs home to his mom. Now for me, this leads into a great moment because you have Lara say, oh, your father been arrested. Okay, you know what? Listen, I'm going to get your father back because that's not cool at all. And so you have Lara pull out this powerful weapon to go get her husband out of prison. And for me personally, this was a cool moment to see because we're now seeing her use the same power suit that Kal-El used in the present day, the same AI system as Kal-El uses in the present day. So now we know that everything Kal-El uses in the present day, it comes from her. Now, with all that being said, you do have Kal-El and Krypto being able to break into the prison, get Jor-El, and get the heck out of there. But now they know they have to leave. They have to get off Krypton. Now, while you had Lara going out of her way to save her husband, you had Kal-El find out that yes, Krypton is dying. But after finding out that, you did have all three of them go back home, including Krypto, go back home. Now, for Kal-El, he believed that the entire time that his mom was working on this rocket ship, that they were going to send him off Krypton before it blew up. And honestly, I thought the same thing as well, because again, it's the usual origin for Superman, but not in this case. Instead, what she did was she had created a spaceship big enough for all three of them and possibly other people that are close to them to get off Krypton. And so with that being said, that means Jor-El, Lara-El are most likely on Earth somewhere. The question is right now, where? But either way, we can now jump over to the present day. And when we do, we jump over to a senior living center and we pick up with this older woman. Now, this older woman, she's calling out for a boy to fly back to her. Now, the question is right now, who is she? Now, we could possibly say that it could be Martha Kent or it could be Lara-El. Either way, she's calling out for a boy to fly back to her. But this is where we're going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, I'll see you in the next comic book video.